I've got on the channel today a Swedish micro brand. It's called Bravur, and it's a company that started in 2011 from two Scandinavian gentlemen named Johan and Magnus. Now these guys are watch enthusiasts, but they're also cyclist enthusiasts. Now I actually spoke to Johan and he's an absolute watch nut, just like us. So having a passion for watches and also incorporating design, they've used inspiration from cycling in order to create watches. And this particular watch, which I have in my hand, revolves around the iconic pattern of the renowned French cycling team Peugeot. Now one would probably think these are watches designed for cyclists only, and that couldn't be further from the truth. Because this one here is so much more than that, and I want to share my thoughts on it. Let's check it out. Now when Johan reached out and asked if I wanted to check out a watch from their range, this particular watch and its design layout caught my eye. Because for me it looks like it's one of the most practical and versatile looking watches for watch enthusiasts like us. And in that regard this watch has not only delivered, but continues to do so. Now spending time surfing Bravur's website, I can see that their watch designs are innovative and many of the dimensions and specs are also surprisingly excellent. And this one, dare I say, almost perfect. Now, you can't say that, Pete. Well, I just did. You see, for the intended purpose of cycling, a watch should not get in the way. And this one here coming in at 37mm does exactly that. It wears incredibly unobtrusive on the wrist, whilst at the same time offering an unobscured and very clean read. Now I have to confess something here guys, in the back of my mind all week I've been thinking this watch is designed for cyclists. But that's wrong thinking, because as a standalone watch, I decided to judge it and review it based on its own merits, the way it behaves and functions regardless of where the watch draws its inspiration. And then I found myself pleasantly surprised at what I experienced. Now firstly, the leather bag in which the watch came in looks and feels premium. For me it's a practical bag that I know it's designed to securely strap onto a bike, but I can also see many other uses for this case even if you're not a cyclist. Now I did have an initial gripe with this watch when I first saw their brand and delved onto their models on the website, and that gripe is the price. You see, this is not a cheap watch by any means. It comes in at $1,850. That's around 1200 USD. Now I know this has a Swiss movement and it's finished beautifully, but for me that's a real hard sell for a watch that's supplied on a rubber strap. Now you saw the pop-up, Bravur has sponsored this video, so I will of course leave a link in the description section. If this watch or any of their watches interest you, feel free to check them out. And looking closely at the specs of the watch, I measure a case diameter of 37 and a case height of 11.2. The lug to lug is 44.6 and a lug width of 18. Now the crown is a 5.8mm signed screw down crown. The watch offers 100 meters of water resistance, and the total weight on the supplied FKM rubber comes in at exactly 82 grams. Now although on paper this says 37mm, visually it did not look out of place on my wrist, but I must say the comfort factor with a combination of its case ergonomics is really something. The wearability I've experienced on this rubber strap has been second to none. I did mention that a watch for cyclists should not get in the way. Well, this watch doesn't get in the way. The way that 18mm rubber strap integrates beautifully is a real delight to the eyes. There's a slight taper from 18 to 16mm at the clasp, and it's been so well balanced on the wrist. In fact, that clasp itself offers very good micro design elements, from sandblasting, high polished sections, and a logo at the extreme edge. Now I don't remember the last time I wore a watch that featured an 18mm strap, and I tell you what, it's been such a good experience. Why? Because it's got a good mix of many factors. Firstly, the watch feels petite, but it's not. It feels delicate, but again it's not. Now you might be thinking I'm speaking in riddles. Again, I'm not. Because simply put, this is a really well made and well designed functional tool specific watch. That's what I've gotten out of this watch throughout the week. Now Johan and Marcus might have designed this range of watches with cycling as their inspiration, but the vibe that this has given me is a multi-use, really cool daily wear. And again, on that note, it's not an inexpensive watch. It sits in the mid-range of what we normally look for in independents or micro brands. but rest assured in the area of quality and execution, I think it's right on par where it needs to be price-wise. Let me show you some of the details that impressed me from this watch, and then I'll speak about any potential room for improvement. Now the first thing that has left an impression on me is that case shape and design. It's a combination of bead blasting and very fine polished bevel running 360 degrees around the entire perimeter of this watch, as you can see. It just brings a really nice balance and symmetry to that case. The lugs are angled downward nicely, and the integration of that rubber strap to the case looks and feels seamless. This doesn't feel or look like a slapped together watch. This is a well thought out and engineered design. And I think as enthusiasts, that's what we're looking for. Now I did mention that the watch is delicate. Well, it's delicate because of its size, with the 18mm lug width and the small 37mm case. But it's solid and robust because of the watch build. Now the refinement of this watch is not just skin deep. It actually feels and extends to the core of this watch, and the wearing experience throughout the week has confirmed that for me. Another strong visual element of the watch has been the combination of the crystal and dial layout. Now we all know that a watch's crystal can either make or break the look of a watch. It's the only transparent medium between the outside world and the inner working of a watch, what you can actually see. And I must say this crystal is superb. I've spoken about many videos in the past, how I dislike certain types of crystals or how the AR coatings are this or that, and every now and then you get a piece of glass that offers a highly desirable view when looking through it. This is such a case. That crystal is lovely. And speaking of that dial, it's all about the details here. Following the Peugeot team in its design layout is one thing, but being able to execute properly is what I see here. If you notice, the centre of the dial features an embossed checkered pattern, which to me it's strong enough to offer nice light play with shadows and tones, but at the same time it's subtle enough to not get in the way of good time reading experience. Looking closely at the black indices, they have a fine green outline which surrounds and frames them, and there are hints of that same green tone everywhere. When you look carefully, the second hand has a green infill on the counterbalance, and the words automatic and Swedish soul Swiss heart are also following the same theme. So for me, this watch being only 37mm is behaving more like a giant when it comes to its attention to finer detail. Now the watch is being driven by a Sellita SW200 automatic movement. A proper no date running at around 41 hours power reserve, and the usability throughout the week has felt on point. Nice tight tolerances, very smooth winding and latch down experience. I think a well deserved choice here and really nothing to complain about. And speaking about the winding and latch down experience, that crown has deep knurling which, if you look a little closer, each individual groove is infilled with paint. So there's another fine detail that you notice after a few days of using the watch and seeing it in different light. Now after having this watch on the wrist for a week, I come away from this experience with one thought. This is a whole lot of watch, or should I say, this is a whole lot of really well designed watch, because it's small, but it's really well done. Now no watch escapes the room for improvement section, and this one has a few in some areas which I think it could potentially benefit from. And first and foremost, the loom. The reason I didn't show you a loom shot is because there is no loom. Well, only the handset offers a little bit of loom here. Now I spoke to Johan and he told me that they actually experimented with black loom on this model and its intensity was negligible at best. So in the end, they opted out of using any loom at all in order to maintain the watch's aesthetic look and design following the Team Peugeot design. So I can forgive it here because their other watches have loom. So in that regard, this somehow feels a little bit more unique in a watch that you know does not have loom and it was omitted for a specific reason. Now the next room for improvement for me, or personal observation, upon looking at their renders, I initially was under the impression that this handset was black, like the markers, but they're not. The hour and minute hands are rhodium plated and infilled with superluminova. Only the seconds hand is black, with that green counterbalance. Now the handset does feature chamfered edges for the ability to capture light at differing angles. It does aid in better legibility, but in certain situations throughout the week, I did slightly lose either the hour or the minute hand, depending upon the angle of light which hit that dial. So I feel that if they were to make this handset fully black, that would indeed offer a better reading experience. But might they have lost some of the watch's elevated quality look? Well, I'm not sure. Because as it stands, all the elements and design characteristics of this watch are seamless and seem to work really well together. And lastly, another gripe, another area I did mention at the beginning of the review was that price. There's no way of getting around it, unfortunately. But if it's any consolation, the watch and even the rubber strap feel extremely refined. You know you've got a premium feeling product the minute you feel a watch in the hand or even on the wrist. So I suppose the old saying is true here, you get what you pay for. So I hope you enjoyed that, guys. A really delightful wrist experience and a watch in my eyes that's really uniquely designed. I think a lot of thought has gone into these watches. Some colours and layouts will resonate with certain people. For me, I found this particular one on initial glance, I hope it's not bland, but I can tell you what, it's far from that. It's all about the details and how well all the elements come together. This one seems to have found a very good balance indeed. So if you've made it this far, guys, thanks for watching. Enjoy the people around you, enjoy this hobby, and we'll see you in the next one.